It is recording. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Georgette, I'm the mom.
And I'm TJ, I'm the son.
And we both work and study in the field of psychology, and we're passionate about sharing what we know with you so that you can live your best life. So today we are going to talk about curiosity.
I heard it killed the cat.
Yeah.
That I heard.
Yeah, it did, as our cat sits right here next to us. I hope that we've piqued your curiosity. So I've never really thought about it before, but I'm pretty curious.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a gap in any kind of conversation, I ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we take our hikes in the morning.
Is that curiosity, or is that just kind of the awkwardness and you just trying to break it up? Hold on now.
TJ.
Okay. Curiosity. Yeah.
Let's assume it's a healthy curiosity.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Keep going.
So when we take our hikes, I ask silly things like, did this gravel get here by nature, or was it like purposely planted here? Because there's some very gravelly parts. But anyways, I think a lot about things, and I'm very curious. And the type of curiosity I'm talking about is called I-type, which is curiosity for curiosity's sake. This is the kind of curiosity you see in children. The other type of curiosity is called D-type, and that is curiosity for accomplishing a task. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do more as adults. And so sadly, that I-type that children have kind of diminishes over time.
Makes sense.
But it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Because I-type is what helps us take those mundane, ordinary tasks and make them interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we lose that over time.
Mm-hmm.
We do lose that. We need more stimuli. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So psychologically speaking, there's really no clear, widely accepted definition on what curiosity is, but it does fall into the category of learning, intelligence, motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be curious in order to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. More contemporary views think of it as a drive, an intrinsic drive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just like all drives, if we have them, we need to satisfy them. We have this urge to satisfy them. So curiosity is important because it helps with intelligence and learning, like teacher just said.
Of course.
It helps with social relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It helps find happiness and meaning.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's good for your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you know this because you love to try new things, novel things. Those things stimulate our brains. That's important, doing that. Right? Curiosity is measured on a 5-dimensional scale. And this is where I think it really gets interesting, because the first part is joyous exploration. That is just like a love of learning. I have this a lot. I just love to learn. These are pleasurable experiences that relate to finding the world and all its components intriguing.
Well, this is where you should identify interest, right? I'm interested in law. I'm interested in psychology. I'm interested in this. And go out of your way, even if you don't necessarily, you're not feeling that huge drive to do it, because the more that you learn about it, the more that you can kind of find that joyous cognitive stimulation.
Absolutely. Maybe you're in a job that you don't really care for, right? Sometimes a job is just a means to an end, but you might have an interest in the law, like you said. Learn about it still. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Deprivation sensitivity. This is another dimension of curiosity. And this actually refers to that uncomfortable feeling we have with not knowing. This is what actually causes us to Google something, that need to know. And I have that too, a pretty high amount.
Or also when we're deprivated by the person, like why did they do this? Why, what led them to get to this? You are deprived of a certain understanding of why they're doing it.
That's absolutely. Yeah. That ties back to why it's important for those social relationships. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Stress tolerance, that is your ability to handle the anxiety of the known and accepting the risks associated with the novel or the new. So, for example, I am fascinated with the ocean and all that lies in it, but my stress tolerance is not that high. I will not scuba dive ever. There's certain things I just wouldn't do.
And this is why you should really be curious as far as some of the other things that you are stressed out about, because a lot of the anxiety that we feel comes from the unknown, right? So the more that you can identify, all the possible, areas that it can go negative and positive, the more that you can build up your tolerance for whatever type of stress the unknown is going to give you, the more likely you're going to be prepared for it. So curiosity, once again, is not only important from an intelligence standpoint, but it's also important. You have to be curious towards your stressors. You got to be insanely curious, because when you find out all the little nuances of it, increase the likelihood of you coming up with something from a cognitive standpoint in order to, get out of it.
Right. Thrill seeking is another dimension of curiosity. I don't have this at all.
Oh, I got this all day. Heck yeah.
This refers the desire to not reduce that arousal. You want to keep yourself aroused and curious.
Yes, I do.
It's what draws you to something.
It is.
It's your willingness.
What are we talking about?
It's your willingness to take financial, social, and physical risks to acquire that information and experience. So while I'm curious about the ocean, I'd rather learn about it in a video or online. I won't experience it like you might. And it probably never get to that same level of understanding that you get either.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last dimension of curiosity is social curiosity. This refers to our desire to get to know people and learn about them, find out what makes them tick, what makes them think, what makes them behave the way they do, so we can respond accordingly and build those relationships. Yeah. So you might be wondering then, how do you reignite that curiosity that you had when you were younger, right? Read. Number one thing.
Boom goes dynamite.
Yeah.
Read, journal, search, find topics. What really interests you? What's the origin of it? What were some of the bad things? What were some of the good things? Learn. Curious.
Yes. Ask questions right along the same line as that. And sometimes we don't like to do this because we think it might be a dumb question. But we all know the adage, there's no question that's a dumb question, right?
Yeah. The only question that is stupid is the one that is not asked, because you're going to remain stupid.
I did the boom for you.
I needed a bigger boom.
I didn't put everything into it. Focus on the results, not the process. Because if you do that, it's almost like backwards design. You might find a different way to get there. Because sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, I overthink. I'm an overthinker.
And our brain already jumps right to the end result. We want the end result. We already don't find the curiosity in the everyday. But curious about how this day, because in all seriousness, this day can completely shift the trajectory for the rest of your life if you consciously find ways to be curious and ask questions and why.
The next one is get lost. And that could be literal or metaphorically.
Shoe fly don't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, take a different path to work. Shake things up a bit. You might notice something in your neighborhood you never noticed before. And the same way with your thought process, shaking things up. Reframe boring situations is another way. And like TJ said earlier, don't let fear get in your way, right? That's part of one of the reasons we don't.
Fear stops your curiosity. Why ask the questions when we're afraid of the unknown? And that's something that happens over time, especially the more danger we accumulate throughout the entirety of our life and become accustomed to. So just ask the questions. And even if they're tough questions, you got to be curious enough to get through some of the, I forgot what I was talking about because I was choking.
The risks.
That one. Go for it. Keep going.
7 habits of curious people. They listen without an agenda. Boy, that sounds like it's something easy to do, but it is not. Oftentimes I have to remind myself to listen, because somebody will be talking to me and I will already be thinking about what I'm going to say next.
Your response, right? Your planned response.
Instead of giving them my full attention. Because you never know. You listen without an agenda, that conversation might go a whole different route.
You can find numerous. I remember a couple instances myself, right? Like curiosity, right? Like I met homeless people, who said, I'm seeing miracles every day. You just got to stop and listen, right? I mean, I remember when I was at GCU and a guy that was painting, I asked him, how was his day? And he was just like, man, better than I deserve. And I'm like, wow, like asking and finding, because you might from that homeless person or might from that person that you weren't necessarily expecting, find a quote or find a story that really does completely change. But you can't find those special moments without curiosity.
Right.
You can't do it. It's not possible. Well, it's possible, but.
Curious people also yearn for surprises.
The oddball effect. Do things that are different. Right? Neurologically speaking, the more that you do things that are different, the more that your body will become accustomed. I think we talked about earlier, the tolerance to oddball things, the tolerance to curiosity and things not going necessarily your way is how you can take curiosity and actually apply it to, better your mental health.
They're present in the moments. They're okay with being wrong.
Good luck, people.
They pause.
Stop. Diaphragmatic breathe. Keep your chest still. Belly rise. Fall. Allow the body to calm down. The brain become more open and attentive.
Mm-hmm. They admit when they don't know.
Boom goes the dynamite. But I'll tell you, I don't know, but I'm going to go look it up for you. Tell you what I can do about that.
That's, as a teacher, that's something that many teachers struggle with, feeling like they have to know all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
When they can get past that, what they end up with is a very collaborative class that also addresses the specific interests of those students. So you might have a class of nursing students, you might go one direction, you might have a class with students who are predominantly military. And so when you are, when you pause and when you admit you don't know something, you automatically create a more collaborative and interesting class, which I think is interesting. And we probably should do that with everybody we run across.
It helps pique other people's curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she doesn't know, and she's supposed to know. Huh.
Right, right. Yeah.
Or I think she should know, maybe I should know. Mm-hmm. Or why should she not know? Maybe it's not that important. Is that important? I don't know. Curiosity.
So this week, what we would like you to do is reignite that curiosity you had as a kid. Ask questions, switch up your routine. We challenge you to take those mundane experiences that you have and find interest in them. Don't just make your bed in the morning. Think about why you make your bed. What different sheets might possibly help you sleep better? Maybe do some research on that. Don't just drive to work. Take a longer route through a new neighborhood.
There's no mundane acts, because you even talk about little things like driving to work. That has a purpose, right? The grocery store's got a purpose, right? You spending time on your phone's got a purpose. You just have to be curious enough to identify, how can this possibly get me closer to my overall fulfillment and activation? Because it is in the little things. We normally spend such a huge time attacking the bigger things. We don't have the curiosity to look at some of the, I guess, lesser obvious things, I guess, for lack of a better word.
I mean, many of us were forced to change our routines recently, right? It wasn't such a bad thing. I bet you learned something, right? I bet you learned something new and something interesting. So we want you to have a great week. We will see you next. Let's Talk About It Tuesday. Oh,
come back here. Come back here, Kat.
Oh, there's all of it.
There's all of it.
There's the curiosity.